America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
First on the agenda, the minutes of the June 28th meeting that was sent to us. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of county council on June 28th, 21.
I'll second that.
So all in, first and the second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Sorry, who's first?
Aye.
Mine.
Mine did.
Right.
So, I don't know how long Alex will be, but I guess we just go ahead and get started here. And, so Katie, if you could come up and introduce yourself around, we're live here, so I can introduce and.
Is he a big Tony coach?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Katie Shook, the DuBois County Coroner.
And I'm Tony Matthews, I'm the deputy coroner.
So I know I guess you guys all got a copy of what I sent Mike. I didn't know, did you have a chance to look over that? I didn't know if it'd be better if I went through each section or if you guys had questions to begin with about what I gave you all.
I think I'd like for you to present it.
Sure, yeah,
I didn't have a chance to look through the whole thing.
sure, that's fine. And I kind of made out bullet points here, but I got a few more things in detail as we go through each one. So at the commissioners meeting, what we did, we met with them to see if we could get, we want 2 more paid positions put on the coroner's office. So we have the coroner now and 3 deputies as it stands, and we want to get 2 more deputies put on as paid. One of those deputies currently is a volunteer, so we're just going to move him. He's trained and ready to go into that paid position instead of getting paid per case. And then we'd like to get the approval to add on that 6th position so we could go look to someone to get them trained and get them put on the office as a paid position. So we kind of stated our cases, why we need to do so, kind of why now do we need to add those deputies after all this time. The commissioners kind of mentioned that we could get as many volunteers as we want, and that doesn't necessarily work because we have to get each of these individuals trained to be medical legal death investigators. They have to go through a 2-weekend course, then they take a board exam, they have to work cases with us, they have to write case reports, and then they go in with the pathologist, learn to draw toxicology, and those types of things. And then they, like I said, they take that board exam and have to pass that in order to become a medical legal death investigator. So it takes a lot of time. Most of these people, like we all have other jobs, this is a part-time position, so they take time away from that and just ask somebody to become a volunteer, and then they're basically working for free. If they're on call, they're working for free unless they get called out for those cases, and then they get paid per case. So we'd rather just have 2 individuals put on as paid because as it is now, there's 4 of us. 2 are working day shifts, 12-hour shifts, and then 2 work night shift, 12-hour shifts. So that makes up 2 84-hour call times per pay period. So each coroner's on call 84 hours per 2-week period. So if we could get 2 more positions put on, it would drop that down to 56 hours of pay period, and that would help us out, putting 1 on during the day and 1 on at night. So split those 2 pay position periods up between 3 people. So as of right now, we're all covering, it's a part-time position, but we're all making sure that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year are covered. And even though you may be on call part of that time, you're still available basically 24 hours a day to answer calls, dealing with your cases. The death investigation has become way more intense throughout the years. Many more agencies are involved: police, child protection, prosecutor's office. They're all calling and asking questions on cases all the time. So even though you may not be on call, you're maybe answering emails, follow-up calls with families, questions about autopsies and all those types of things. Right now, too, we learned it was become more valuable during the COVID pandemic that we learned this, that if someone had to be quarantined or they were sick, we were down in person. With us only having 4 people on the call schedule for down in person, already with all of us covering all that call time, it made it really difficult to try to fill in for that person when they were out. We had 1 person quarantined for 2 weeks, and another one was quarantined until they got their COVID test back. And that made it hard for us to cover all that time. We had a volunteer to fill in, but again, if they're not getting paid for the time they're on call, it's kind of difficult to ask them to do that all the time. And like I mentioned, so we spend a lot more time on our cases besides our specific call hours. So for instance, you may be on call Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You may have a case that you work right towards the end of your shift. you call the doctor for the autopsy, he may not be able to come until Saturday or Sunday. So you're gonna have to be present for that autopsy on Saturday or Sunday, even though you're not getting paid for that call time. And then you're gonna be writing a report, following up with the family, all that again outside of that, the call time that you're already scheduled for. And that kind of brings back, if we would just get a volunteer for that position, if they're just, say we ask them to be on call 2 12-hour shifts per week, so that'd be a 24-hour time period they're covering for us. They may not get paid at all during that time, but if they do get called out, as of right now, they get paid $60 for that case. Well, say their drive time to the case and back, their time at the case, maybe a few hours, that would be 3 or 4 hours there, plus they have to be present for the autopsy, that's another few hours, and then they're follow the family writing the report, and so on, $60 to cover all that. And the use of their vehicle is just not, it's just a lot to ask of someone, just give their time that way, not be in a paid position. And two, right now, Memorial Hospital's become a level 3 trauma center, and obviously they're the only hospital regionally located. So something happens in Spencer County, Pike County, all those individuals are brought to Memorial Hospital, and if they pass away in our hospital, it becomes a DuBois County coroner's case. So we're taking the load of all those cases on top of our normal cases. And now too, a few years ago, it got put into place at the hospital here that we had to be notified on every single hospital case, whether it's a coroner's case or not. And obviously these calls are happening all through the day or night. So a family member may just, or the individual in the hospital may just be comfort care. They may be a hospice patient in the hospital. It's not a coroner's case, but they still have to notify us on that as far as hospital policy. And then besides those cases, anybody that passes away at home, if they're not on hospice, any other patient that we also notified on that death. So every hospital case, every case outside of hospice, including accident, somebody just dies at home unexpectedly, we're responding to all those deaths now. So our caseload has really risen over the years, which is why we really need the extra help. If we are on call again, it's expected that we make a short call time or response time. It's really important that we respond within a timely manner. So it's really hard. You know, we're on call at 84 hours per 2-week pay period. So that makes it really hard. You can't really make plans. You can't leave the county. Again, it's hard to, you know, have just kind of a regular life when you're on that much call time for those 2 weeks. So again, we're expected to make a short response time. And why this is really important from a county perspective, it's specifically if there's a vehicle accident, the roadway is going to be closed down for a long time. The ambulance has to wait on us. Again, the death investigation all surrounds when we get there, the decedent's in our control until we release them to a funeral home or what have you. So again, that roadway may be closed down for a while. The county may be down an ambulance a while until we can get there and all those things. The county depends upon, you know, working ambulance for the roadways to be where traffic's not blocked up and that type of thing. So that's why it's important we get there in a timely manner. Let's see. Also, within the death investigations, we're putting ourselves in that high-risk category. Again, specifically, they told us we're in that PAT3 category where we have higher training. So that puts us up a level with that. But also, we're putting ourselves into high-risk category as far as coming into contact with contagious disease, a lot of biohazard contaminants, drug paraphernalia, fentanyl patches, all those types of things we have to know how to deal with as far as our training. Again, that goes back to why you can't just have 5 or 10 volunteers. They're all going to have to be trained specifically for these different death investigations. So we'd like to get one, or we have one, but we'd like to get that second person as well, where we can train them, trust them, and be able to send them out on all these different types of cases instead of worrying about trying to train 5 or 10 people who may or may not even want to take call or work whenever we ask them to do so. So if we do add these 2 additional deputies on, it's going to make our total payroll budget $53,000 for 6 people. So those 2 people that will be put on now are going to be paid currently what our other deputies are being made, or what they're making, excuse me. And again, I like to go into some items here too, that how we're saving the county money now. As far as our pathologists that we bring in, with this being a part-time office, obviously we don't have a morgue here in the county. Memorial Hospital doesn't have a morgue. So the funeral home here, Becker Police works as the morgue, so we have a good working relationship with them. But the pathologist comes to the funeral home and does all the autopsies. Normally we would have to, probably Vanderburgh County, I don't know what the closest home would be. We have to find an individual to transport these decedents to Vanderbilt County for the autopsy to be done there, and then find transport back. And with us not being a full-time office, we'd have to pay an outside person to do that, and transportation is pretty expensive. Now, the funeral home here has worked with us on many cases where they have a deal normally where if we have someone pass away in Louisville, Evansville, or what have you, they already have a deal with them on a cheaper price to transport individuals, so we normally get that price. So that's one way we're saving money. The pathologists, we've, not specifically me, but the coroners, Tony being one of them, and Bob Beach in the past, they've built a working relationship with the current pathologist that we use. And he said, since he's gotten to know the office, he's going to continue to come here and do the autopsies while he has that relationship with us. But down the line, he's not sure because he's getting older and he's looking to not travel as much. So he's just coming here to do this as a service for us and the networking that we've built with him. Yeah, I talked about it. So the morgue removal vehicles, with us not having the morgue, again, we also don't have the removal vehicle, so we would have to transport due to not having that morgue. We'd have to find somebody that could loan us that removal vehicle. Again, that's how the funeral home comes into play here. If we have a person pass away anywhere around hospital, nursing home, at home, again, we just call area funeral homes most of the time Becker Policer, and they will come do the removal for us at a very small fee compared to what you'd have to pay someone else to do that. So again, lost of any of those relationships, that'd be kind of, it wouldn't be good, but as far as, how to explain that? Again, those relationships that we built up are helping us save money versus the small payroll of that $53,000 for that 6 people. I think that kind of offsets that difference. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay, I just want to make
I'm
sure.
talking too fast.
No, you don't need to apologize, you're fine. So when you said that at certain times you have Becker Policeman go to the house or something, so are they realizing that they're part of the whole scenario, but do they have the training then as well for the coroners that you guys had?
No, so the coroner is going to be there no matter what, and we work the case, but we have to call somebody to transport the individual to the funeral home because that's where most of the autopsies are done. Even if it's going to be a funeral home case for, say, Austin or Becker's and Ferdinand, we still call Becker Policer because the autopsy's done there and they have the cooling facility. Nobody else in the county has a cooling facility for the individuals to be held in until we have the autopsy, and the coolers are very expensive too. But they're not trained as far as coroners. They're just basically providing the transport service.
That's all.
Any questions of Katie?
So this isn't really tied to what you're saying. So when I look here at the 4 people that are listed, I think they're all past coroners, right? I think Bob Brown, was he a past
He's been a
coroner?
deputy for 30-some years,
Okay.
so yeah, they all have experience.
So I don't know how the terms are. I know you term out, but then after you set out a term, does that have to be coroner
Yeah,
again?
you can be elected
Okay.
again.
That has nothing to do with what's going on, I understand, but this was curious.
You would hire the 2 new people at the same rate that people have been there for a year or so maybe?
Yeah, that's the same as the deputy. So I have the coroner salary, he has chief deputy, and then we have just the deputy salary, so they would come on as deputies. Because to be honest, the salary for them is so small now, I mean, it's almost not worth it for them doing what it is. I mean, it's a long time coming. I mean, we have put in for a $1,000 raise for each person as well, so. Yeah, we opted to just put them all in the same pay rate. Because they're receiving pretty much training too to do this. And then the one we already have trained and ready to go, which is Dave Mitchell. He's been a volunteer for us for a year or 2, so he's ready to go right into that position, but we'll have to find another position.
Where do you find your people?
We're probably gonna advertise for it, kind of put in there what we're gonna ask of the person, how much call time they're gonna take and that type of thing. Make sure it's not an option when you get called out, you have to go. You know, we hire volunteers that you will tell them what we can call, and if you can take this call, you can or you can't. But if they're gonna be on the schedule, they're gonna have to do it because they're gonna be paid for it. So we're just gonna put the qualifications in there, what they have to have, tell them they're gonna have to go to training, they have to pass the board exam, they're gonna have to work some cases, just everything that they have to do to become a deputy and what's expected of them.
One thing Katie had said to me, and I guess I was aware of it, but I didn't notice it in these notes. We're asking for 2 positions, but we're asking them for, I think, starting in August.
Yeah.
So they're not, this one says January 1st of 22, but they're both going to Because I think the
We
commissioners.
we figured if we could find somebody that wanted to start training, sort of, they're gonna be going out on cases regardless if they're certified or not, just because that's how they learn, we figured we should go ahead and pay them. Well, that's what the auditor's office advises us on, so if they're gonna be trained, that they really need to be paid.
Yep, and so I think that's what the commissioners had also said, that,
Right.
you know, they didn't want somebody on board and then not being paid to be trained.
Because we all, like you mentioned, we're all using our own vehicles and gas and all that too, so, and the wear and tear on the vehicles, it's not really reimbursed, it's all, I guess, kind of figured within our salary,
And these are all part-time positions.
right?
I guess one question, you know, level 3 trauma center, where is the next level? Next nearest?
Probably Evansville.
Our Evansville.
So, okay. Because you had, I think you had mentioned in one of your presentations that the person like,
Oh, the Holiday World.
right, and you know, that was, kind of became your case.
Yeah, so that incident happened in Spencer County, but she was pronounced at our hospital here, and that case probably created a 70-hour workload for one person to do, and we kind of use the example of a volunteer would have got that on their time to be on call. I mean, how do you justify giving $60 to somebody who worked on something 70 hours? So it's just not plausible.
I seen your name in the national news.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Not by choice.
So any other discussion or?
Tony, I can imagine you've seen a lot of changes through the.
Yeah, I've been in there over 33 years in the coroner's office, so, I mean, like she said, a lot of things have changed as far as our death investigation too. Just a lot more that's involved with it. There's a lot more that have to be autopsied, and that requires a lot more work on our end of it too, as far as making arrangements and spending time there. But there's just a lot more lawyers, a lot more information. We get subpoenaed sometimes to testify in court. More so now than what we have ever done.
I would say almost every day I'm receiving either email from a lawyer or family or some requesting a report. Or, like he said, we're more worried about lawsuits too, as far as who should we autopsy, who should we not. Way back we didn't have to worry so much, but it's almost like you have to worry about autopsying everybody that we get just because we're afraid of the, even insurance policies, certain policies won't pay out if it was accident or suicide or drug overdose or those types of things. So they all want autopsy reports to make sure they should even be paying out. So we're dealing with those, the insurance companies all the time too, lawyers, like you said, they all want, they request reports all the time, so. And I think I mentioned at the commissioners, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
But at the commissioners meeting, like the prosecutor's office called us on a girl that they had gotten reports of child abuse and she had died in Louisville. So they didn't decide to do an autopsy there, but Lewis County Child Protection got a hold of our prosecutor's office here and they decided, well, we need to autopsy this little girl. So they called me and said we need to get her from Louisville and get all this done when it wasn't even really within our jurisdiction in our county to do that. But I called that coroner there, we kind of worked together. He was fine with us doing that here. He wished he could have done it here, there, but their laws didn't allow him to do it. They're short of help. So we got that done for them here. But again, had nothing to do with Du Bois County. But again, it became our case because the prosecutor's office wanted to do that. And obviously there was abuse going on within that family. We wanted to protect the other kids too. So we get involved in a lot more than, like I said, than just within the county.
So Tony, 33 years you've been involved, so has it always been like the coroner and 3 others? Is that how it's?
That's the way it's been, and it's really been quite the struggle. The way it is right now, there's 4 of us total, and we divide that call time up to 84 hours per pay period. The deputies and stuff aren't on any type of for retirement pension or anything on that or insurance. So, I mean, we're not really getting paid a whole lot. We're only getting around 6,000 in that neighborhood for that. But the reason, I guess, why we would really like to add the 2 additional ones is to kind of like split the call time up to 56 hours. Some people think that being on call is not no big deal. Sometimes you might go a whole night without a call, but you gotta be available. You gotta be in the county. You can't even really go out to eat lunch or something, because if you do, that's when you get called out. But with the hospital notifying us of every single death, we get a lot more calls. But also when we go to a residence or something, if someone's deceased there, the ambulance usually gets called and they notify us. Well, they cannot leave that scene until we actually get there to relieve them. So it's important that our call, we stay pretty well available for that. And like she said, $56,000, I think that would pretty well cover the salary for the entire office, which for 24 hours a day, 7 days, or 7 days a week, 365 a year, and forced all to be certified medical, legal, death investigators. I think it's,
I mean, it's gonna be like a, I mean,
we're
it's-
getting our own gas mileage and everything, I think, our own vehicles.
Have you compared other like counties, size counties to ours to see what their coroner's office has as far as employees and their setup?
I haven't, but,
I have
I mean, if you
Talk
haven't,
to
that's fine, I'm
some
just
of
kind of curious to see how we
Yeah.
compare as far as that goes to other like counties, because that's what we kind of usually do when we're.
yeah, and
figuring out.
and I tell you, some of those might be in the same situation that we are. They probably need to go, get readjustment. I know some counties have difficult money getting funds for anything, but,
it's almost like the workload here, it almost seems like it should be a full-time, or may down the road may have to be a full-time position depending, because I mean, most of our guys, we're fortunate because, like I work at the funeral home and Bob Beach and help work during the day, but some of these other jobs won't let you take call or do any, or there are other full-time jobs helps them work at night, but it's kind of hard to get somebody to be able to leave work and do that, so.
I think some of that is having a Memorial Hospital here in the county.
Yeah.
It really somewhat increases
Right.
our workload, so.
And in the past, we didn't have to be notified on all those deaths, but now, I mean, them calling with every single one. I mean, I've had 3 calls just the past 2 days like that, but, and it's not just like a quick call, like you gotta get the information, make sure it shouldn't turn into a coroner case, because even there's certain things, say they fell in a nursing home or something like that, and that wasn't reported, then the family let the hospital know that, and maybe they died of a blood clot then while they were in the hospital, even if they were there a few days, that may become a coroner's case because that fall happened outside of the hospital, so. We had to get some information, look at it a little in depth when they make all those calls to us, so.
Does that come from a changed state law or for the hospital?
That's with the hospital here, I guess, in the past, they had notified us and just said it's not a coroner's case, you don't need to do anything, and then found out later on it really should have been, they didn't give us the information they should have, so their house supervisor ruled that that's what they had to do from now on.
Any other discussions or questions? Otherwise, the commissioners approved both positions, so we have to fund them. So I'll I'll entertain a motion sometime here.
I'll make a motion to fund positions, both part-time positions, yeah.
Okay, so Doug made a motion,
I'll second.
Becky seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. I think we all appreciate the work you do,
Thank
so
you.
don't, so appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for your time too.
we appreciate you guys too.
Yeah, really.
You've always been really good with this. I mean, as far as any time in the past, like when I was coroner, I asked for more money for autopsies or supplies or something. The council have always been real good working with us. They never really questioned why we need this and why we need that, which is nice. I'm glad. But
Well, thank you.
I think you're in good hands with us.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yep.
Mary, do we need to do a salary ordinance for those two or not tonight?
I don't think tonight.
Okay. we're
Because
good.
when were you thinking that they would start? You're gonna advertise in August?
So we have to get the budget approval on the 9th, and then they said maybe they could start the 10th if we had. Sandy had gotten the amounts of what the rest of their salary would be for the remainder of the year, if that's what you meant.
Yeah,
or-
well, I mean,
okay.
just in order to get them paid.
For the budget to go, right, it's on the budget. Sandy has it in there.
Okay. I just didn't know if since it was two new line items, if we had to have salary ordinances or not, but we might not need it, so.
I thought Sandy said she was advertising for both positions.
That's what she told me.
She's advertising for them, so I think she's gonna try to get once approval on the 9th.
Very good.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, so we don't have anything else, published on the agenda, but Mayor Dean Vonderhyde had, I think during our meetings with the revitalization of the square, he had asked to be on this meeting, and I guess somebody said.
Yeah, I must have
it's
dropped
through
the ball.
crack here.
Contacting.
So so it's.
I promise not to tie you up very long.
Well,
okay,
it's
'cause,
we're on the air, so won't you introduce yourself?
yeah, Dean Von Ride, Mayor Jasper, and appreciate the opportunity just to address the council this evening. And just to put you at ease, I'm not asking for any decisions tonight, okay? I just want to, state where we are right now with the Courthouse Square revitalization project. And as you might have noticed, just 2 weeks ago, it was an infrastructure project that we're looking at as well. This is a transformational project that will realize some real economic value and benefits to the area. It's going to be more pedestrian friendly. It's going to serve as a destination for regional families to live, work, and play for generations to come. In 2016, we ranked the road out here as a 3 on this 10-point scale. And so it hasn't been repaired yet. It needs to be repaired. And Jeff asks me every year at budget time, when am I going to be able to do this? So until we do this project as a whole, there really is no reason to move forward, just the road. We'll tear it up, replacing water lines. As you saw, the aging water lines, that 6-inch pipe that we replaced 2 weeks ago only had 3 inches of flow to it. The corrosion had built up over time. And so what normally happens when you replace one area, you got a new pipe, it's going to put pressure in the next weakest point, and you'll have some more leaks. We're hoping we don't have a big water slide during Strassenfest. Curbs, ramps, the walkways, they all need to be replaced to meet safety and ADA standards. And through collaborative discussion with county representatives, which I do appreciate the fact that in this time around, in this whole planning process, we've had 3 participants on a regular basis, including the President, Becky, and Brent. And they've had great input. They've been a part of this the whole way. But during that time, we were asked to add ADA access to the courthouse, and then also to address the safety issues around the square, specifically as you cross the pedestrian crossings. We had an individual hit about 1.5 years ago, I think it was. And it's dangerous as you cross those crosswalks the way it is, because there's lack of view for both driver and pedestrian. We also, when we're doing that, we were asked to look at refreshing the monument area, about what could be done architecturally to incorporate maybe just a little bit different look and make it a more safe area for us. In doing that, we estimated the project cost around the square only, to be about $5 million. We're currently entering into a contract with Rendell Ernstberger and Associates for final design and construction documentation. We expect that to be about a 4 to 6 month period before we get that final documentation. Now, this is a big investment. There's no doubt about it. But we're already seeing returns and benefits to the local communities in what we've done recently in the downtown and riverfront areas. Specifically, you talk about the Tim Clark Cultural Center, River Center, the Alexander Schoolhouse, Schaefer Barn, the City Mill, the Spirit of Jasper Train Depot. Those investments are paying off. I just had a meeting last week with Kyle Bennett at the hospital. He's saying it's making a difference in our recruiting of medical talent to this area. They have options. And for us to bring in this regional hospital, good talent, we have to have facilities and amenities that are going to draw their families here. And when they walk in and they see what's happening at the Tim Clark Cultural Center and the library and the arts, it's a real positive. When they see what else is going on in the community, the investments that are being made, it's a real positive. We need to recruit talent to the city and continue to do so to fill some of these roles that we have vacant. The Courthouse Square will serve as another pillar of progress toward making this a great place to live, work, play, grow, as I said. So long ago, we recognized we had two options. One, we invest in our future, or we manage our decline. And we chose to invest in our future. And it's not easy. It's hard to do that. It takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of criticism as you go forward. But if you do it well, and if you do it with collaboration across groups, within groups, for the common good of the region, I think we can be very successful in that. So what I'm here today is to ask that the county just continue as a partner, just like you have in the planning part of this, but then also providing financial support as we start going into the actual execution of it. And we plan on beginning execution of this as soon as we get our engineering documents, because we can't wait on the infrastructure any longer. And we'll tear into doing that. We're applying for grants, we're applying for things to help us complete this project so that it's not all publicly funded. But there will be a price tag, and we're just asking you to consider sharing that price tag. I don't have an amount I'm asking for, I'm just asking for your consideration over the next 2 years, 22 and 23. I don't have a lot of detail. There is a lot of detail. Every meeting we have, we keep minutes, keep notes, have projected budgets in there, and they're distributed to the people that are participating in the meeting. So as that comes out, we can forward that to you as a council.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
so
are, that's right. Thank you for doing that. That was kind of the hope, the expectation that you never know. And I appreciate the fact that it has been shared. There shouldn't be any surprises. We try to keep everything on the table and able to discuss it. So with that, I'll stop. I just want to make sure that
Can you touch, for people that maybe don't understand where, what the scope of the work, I mean, as far as where.
well, this, what I'm specifically talking about today is around the courthouse square.
And each leg off, right?
The leg off would be also, yeah. So it would include the one block of roadway and infrastructure each way. We have another phase that as a city we're gonna implement, and that's on down Main Street to 2nd Street and up to 9th Street. But I would not ask the county to participate in that. I think it's this immediate area that's part of the county seat that I'm really looking for the kind of help.
Yeah, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but you've been working with Lisa Gale has Indiana 15.
We do work with Lisa, and we've applied for Ready Grant for this already.
I'm just thinking about the water lines and the storm sewers, things like that.
That as well, SWIFT grants are out there, and we've applied for any grant we can get to go along with this. At one time, we had a community crossings grant back in 2016 that we were approved for, but when it went to the city council, and there was a prioritization and funding debate, which one got the priority, the cultural center got the priority and was funded. So this one was shelved. We can't shelve it any longer. It's been shelved since 2016, 17, I guess is when that decision was made. But we've got to get this stuff fixed.
I'm just thinking Lisa.
Good question.
I'm just thinking about Lisa, and there's just a lot of funding through.
There is a lot, and she has been involved with our projects. Every project we have, Region 15 is made aware of and see where we might go.
Very good.
Yeah. They're a great resource.
Very.
Any other discussion?
Any other questions?
For Mayor? Hearing none, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Sorry for the
And,
misunderstanding.
I accept responsibility for that. Okay.
I thought that the auditor, I thought you were gonna go with the auditor, but that's fine, no problem.
Yeah,
It worked out great.
When I called, I just can't say.
That's all right.
It's been long enough ago, I wouldn't remember what I did.
You don't.
Yeah. All right, thank
All
you
right,
very
thanks,
much.
thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Chair.
He's on it.
So,
they wanted to spend out a grant, they wanted to move the money.
It just says transfer of appropriation, hereby determined that it's necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated at the annual budget. And this is for CARES test grant to other services, $155.58. So, and this is from, I guess, from the health department then? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's going from CARES,
From CARES to personal services.
I move that we approve that transfer.
I'll second that.
So we got a first and a second, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that's carries, so. we'll start it down on that. Did you have anything for the?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate you attending. So the only thing,
You can even tell me now.
the next thing, you know,
minutes.
the jail has been going real well. I think Craig, went to the last meeting with I think, with me and the commissioner was here. So, I mean, it's going really well. They got the tower moved now, so they can continue construction and taking out the foundation that's out there for the old tower, which is in the building, part of the building pad. We came up with a little bit of a problem with the existing phone system. I think it's kind of on its last leg, but it's still workable. But what they had to do is there's, I guess, an unknown or unforeseen condition. There was four conduits and 50 pair of communications cables that ran between the community corrections and the jail. So those we had to decide, or they had a change order to provide new ones and move them to the inside so we can go ahead with the construction and wouldn't cut off the phone service during this period of time. So that's, I think that's in the works, and basically that's the only thing. And then I think the commissioner signed off on a new phone system from Matrix that will not require it's more tied into the internet system for both facilities. And I think that was a $40-some thousand change, I think, for new phones and the new service from Matrix. And that's going to tie into here and the courthouse. So all the phones, if somebody takes their phone and moves it someplace else, it knows where that phone's at. So it's not like we have to get somebody in there to rewire everything each time somebody moves a desk to a different desk. So, I don't know, otherwise they had the aggregate piers in, last week. They're starting the, I think they're gonna start the footings this week is what they said, or next week, so, the week ahead, so. I don't know, it seems like it's going well. I don't know, anybody got any questions on that, or anybody want to hear more of it? But I mean, it's going well, but it's all, right now we're in the dirt, so, it's getting the foundations ready.
The commissioner talked about moving 911.
Right.
You got that one there, I'll let you talk about that.
Well, that's the next thing, that's what, I think the commissioners meeting on Monday, that they decided they took a vote to go ahead and relocate that facility, that department. And that's gonna be, it's gonna be two years from now is when it's gonna probably be, but they're taking up an existing jail pod and then, stripping out the cells and that's where they're gonna go. It's gonna be right adjacent to the EMA. Use the same entry as the EMA, and so there's no other additional doors or anything. They'll come through that same area. They got a separate entry. They don't have to go through the main sheriff's, front door. So, and I think everyone, it's my understanding, everyone agreed on it. 911. I mean, they all kind of are in agreement with it.
Yeah.
It should be moved.
Yes, I think Stuart, he asked all the dispatchers, their opinion, and let them buy in on it too. They were happy with that, so it's, they're far at the change as well. So, because then the health department needs room, so there's a lot of benefits, and if we ever rebuild the judicial center, you know, then it's all tied near each other, so there's a long-term thinking, everything kind of ties together.
Anybody got any comments on that? Okay, the next thing, I thought here, I didn't know if, you know, this is gonna sneak up on us here, but I didn't know if anybody is intending to possibly go to the EIC convention. It's in, I guess it's in Florence, Indiana. So I mean, that's on September 20th to the 23rd, so if anybody's thinking about going, someone wants to drive together or however you want to do it, if anybody's got any desire to do that.
I'm not able to.
And then the budget hearing is on August 9th, 8 o'clock. You know, I guess for planning purposes, I talked to Sandy, I guess if it's okay with everyone, we'll have lunch at the Mill House at lunch break, and it's on Mike Leisner. So, I don't know, that's all I really had on my list. So, anyone else have anything to add?
I think we need to be thinking about some of these projects that are gonna be needing money in 22 and 23. How we feel about it. Because at some point, Dean's gonna wanna know what the county's gonna do. So, but if they're, you know, if they're planning on doing some of the fenced in area of that monument and everything, that's our cost.
If there is, you know, I mean, we brought it up in the ARP meeting, the American Rescue Plan meeting. You know, that's on the agenda. We haven't got, or it's on the list, I should say, it's on our agenda. You know, we were going to discuss that or try to prioritize. I think there's, if you correct me if I'm wrong, I thought there was 23 projects
Right.
that people that have their, you know, their hand out.
And the list is growing, I think.
So,
23 the last time.
so I think at our next meeting, we're gonna try to sit down and prioritize those. And then, you know, I know that's on that list. So I mean, possibly we could use some of that money. It's all, you know, we could help with the infrastructure with that money.
I think a good place to start might be to look at what we did for the Stellar project in Huntingburg. And then add what we want them to include in the project for, like, the courthouse. You know, the ramps and
Wasn't
maybe the
that like
monument.
500,000?
I don't remember.
I thought that's the number that came to mind.
I think that's what it was, or something like that. It was at the 4-H. Maybe
No,
not the
I
project,
think
the
it was
4-H
higher.
one.
I think we did 125,000 a year for 4 years,
That's right.
if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
I mean, that would be a way of, you know, I think it's a good way of using those funds. You know, if we could, if there's enough funds left.
So Dean was saying that he put that project in for ARPA funds?
Oh, Ready grant.
Ready grant.
He said ready grant. No, I thought he also said. Okay,
I mean, they got money also from,
Yeah.
you know, but I guess they got so many other issues, you know, projects also. And they may use some of it too, you know, but, I mean, in the meeting, you're correct, in the meeting he did say that, but I didn't think he said it tonight.
okay. I thought I heard it somewhere.
I'm just hoping they can get some money from Indiana 15, some of those federal funds. The water line and the storm sewer and things like that. And then the Ready grant, I mean, that's a regional projects initiative. So,
And that's pretty far out, that Ready grant, you know, I mean, that's gonna take some years, I think, to get money out of that, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but.
maybe. I mean, they're in a region now, you know what I mean, like. I think,
ROI, we're with ROI, right? Yeah.
I wish I'd asked them about a timeline. What's the, do they have a date that they would, an ideal date that they'd like to start?
Sounds like as soon as they
Sounds
get,
like the,
like right away.
4 or 6 months of the paperwork or the budget outline,
that they're gonna start on the road,
yeah, so like half year.
pipes and all that.
We'll be finished by Strasser Festival next year.
There's-
I mean, that's, that's a big
Well,
thing.
there's quite a few different things that about the downtown merchants,
Mhm.
that they're trying to,
Right.
not shut them down 2 different times, to get it all together, so if you're shut down, get it done and get you back open again. If they have to do that. But
Good project.
I just really hope they do something that's wheeler friendly on that sidewalk. I've mentioned it,
Yeah,
a lot.
that's been brought up quite a bit. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
I mean, I don't wanna beat it, no, I do wanna beat a dead horse on it. Because unless you've been on wheels across anything bumpy like that, even like the Cincinnati Zoo, for example, case in point, they have these cute little sidewalks with the little animal prints that, like mashed into the concrete. It's horrible if you're on wheels. It's absolutely horrendous.
that's too bad.
So we truly wanna say that we can be ADA compliant, but do we wanna be friendly? We wanna be friendly to people that have disabilities.
That's what happens when you get the creative people together with the ones who live in reality.
Okay. Was there anything else we want to discuss? Be prepared for the 9th?
Yes, always prepared.
Bring your blankets.
Yeah, we're gonna turn the air conditioner down. We're gonna cool this place up.
Okay, if there's no other discussions, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
So it's Charmaine and Doug, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, well, thank you.
No, we are.
That's right.
Turn that off.
There's another commissioners meeting, right?